session for today, Prevention and Control of MASLD. Dr. Seng G. Lim, Dr. V.G. Mohan Prasad, Dr. Sunil Tadich, and Dr. Ajit Bhadoria to please chair this session.
Friends, good evening. It's so heartening to see so many of you here, even at the last session. So it's an important session for India because MASLD as a public health concern, what India is doing about it. And we have an erudite scholar and speaker in Professor Ajay Duseja here. And we have to be very, very proud that India probably was the first country in the world to include fatty liver among the non-communicable diseases. So that way we have, the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare has moved that. But now because India, the obesity, overweight population is increasing, diabetic capital of the world, India, so there is always an increase in the fatty liver, and the figures that are projected are alarming that it reached probably 65% as of 2040. So we are into a big problem today, and we need to address this very efficiently. So before we get into a lot of complications, as you know, Prime Minister Modi was talking about the obesity-related complications and the financial exchequer that will cost to the country. So I think without much ado, I request Professor Ajay to enlighten us on this topic.
Thank you, Dr. VG. I think good evening, everyone. Everybody was thanking the organizing committee and us for this meeting. So, but I must thank you all now, for staying till the end. This is the last session. I know sometimes single theme meetings or single theme symposia really get toxic. Since afternoon, you have been hearing MASLD, MASH, this, that, I know it gets very toxic and it also gets repetitive. So keeping that in mind, I'll be very, very, I'll be short, and I'll be just telling you some of the activities which have been happening predominantly by INASL and the Government of India and in India. And we have these, some of the people who have been working on this, both Dr. VG, Ajit, Dr. Sunil, I think they're all there. So I'll just quickly take you through that what we are all doing in last few years to tackle this menace of MASLD. As I said, and you have seen this yesterday, we had this Global NASH Council meeting, which was predominantly focused on South Asia and Southeast Asia, and this data was shown yesterday. And this is one, data which we had compiled around 4 years back, me and my colleague. And if you look at India has a variable prevalence of MASLD, but then as high as this is our Chandigarh figure of 53%. But more important is this meta-analysis, which was again published by Shalimar and his colleagues. I think 50 studies, around 25,000 patients, and if you look at the prevalence is close to for 39%, which is, by the little more than the average prevalence of, close to around 30%, which is given by the meta-analysis done by Professor Yunusi, which was published, again, a few years back. So having said that, people do ask us, then what? If 30%, 40%, 50% people have fatty liver, then what? They are not affecting them, that they are not killing them. So then what? So liver-related morbidity and mortality obviously is not very high, and the severe form MASH would be seen only in 5% or 5 to 7%. So what not? But then in India, the problem is our numbers. 1.4 billion people, 1.5 billion people. And this is again, we had a debate on this NIT and histology. This is again our consortium in India, the Indian consortium on MASLD. We have completed 2 phases and we are now more than 10,600 patients data which we have done. This was our interim analysis again 3 years back where we had analyzed around 3,000, 4,000 patients. But what I wanted to show you is that if you use the NITs, the significant fibrosis with this figure was seen in 30%, and 10% of them had so-called cackled or cirrhosis with LSM value more than 13. So I think they do have, significant liver disease, and looking at the numbers what we have in India, this really becomes very, very important. And yes, as you rightly heard, I think India did take lead in this, and India became the first country in, making this, including this as one of our national programs. So what India is doing, as I said, again, I have been working in this area for almost now 25, 30 years, and we've seen this, that this has been an ignored entity, especially with the non-hepatologists, and with the physicians. If somebody sees fatty liver on ultrasound, most people or most patients would be told, don't worry about it, just ignore it. And that may still be true. And one of the reasons for that is the lack of knowledge in the physicians. And I must say, Sanjay, this could be even in endocrinologists. Endocrinologists are now joining hand with hepatologists, and even amongst luminal gastroenterologists. So I think there's some problem, and I'm not saying this. I'll show you data on this. This is a published data. And then, so as I said, this education is very, very important. And then there's some work which have been done. The education and sensitization of the masses is very, very important about their lifestyle and what should be done, they should be doing, to keep themselves healthy. And finally, obviously, the policy making obviously does come in there. So as I said, there are two studies, at least again published by Professor Yunusi, and luckily we've been part of this Global NASH Council. And this is to look at the knowledge about the NAFLD called that time amongst the physicians. And if you look at the hepatologists, gastroenterologists, endocrinologists, primary care physicians. So other than the hepatologists, the other categories they had, did not have a good knowledge about this particular disease. Even though from the data from the South Asia and the Asian, this was not really well represented, but we know that. I think this is a problem in India, that people don't recognize this as an entity. I think, as I said, this is it. So in this direction, we in 2015, INASL came out with its first position paper on NAFLD that time, and we gave some of the algorithms of managing. But then our main paper came in 2023, where we really worked hard, working party, the INASL NAFL task force, and we came out with this paper and trying to give the pathways of managing at primary care, secondary care, when to refer, what to do, what should be the first test. I'm not going into the details, but how to, based on the FIF4, should you be managing them just at the primary care, or should you be referring them for a second test, which could be elastography, and then where do you biopsy, where do you use drugs, and or whether the NITs are good enough. Lately, this year, after the nomenclature got changed, and we were then looking at whether this change in nomenclature, what is the bearing of this change in nomenclature to the R paper which was there in 2023. So we have again come out with this paper, where adoption of this new nomenclature and what are the implications. I think this is again freely available on the INASL journal. So again, we are trying to educate hepatologists, trying to educate gastroenterologists, physicians, endocrinologists. And you will remember, I think this was we had some nephrologists, cardiologists in this group when we kind of framed these guidelines. So this is one. Ajit is here, and Ajit has done a good job, and with Samar Nandi, they have actually now have a book which is on preventive hepatology. And INASL looked at this book, and then we were also some of the contributors. This book would be released tomorrow officially, if I'm right. And INASL is endorsing this. So again, the purpose is to educate the physicians. I'm pretty sure our guidelines are being read by physicians, endocrinologists, and not only by the gastros and the hepatologists. And this book also would be read by many. So idea is that education is very, very important. Understanding that this disease is important, even though it is 5% MASH, but then look at the other, associated comorbidities and the involvement of other organs. And since morning, we have been discussing about the multi-system nature of this particular disease. The other activity which INASL has done, and Dr. V.G. Mohan Prasad is here, and he has really been helping us, is this activity, which is the INASL Rotary Combating Childhood Obesity and Fatty Liver. So acronym is ROCO. And ROCO, in Hindi is called to stop. So this we started 2 years back. This activity we started with 2 years back. We have a ROCO website, and the plan is that the Rotary Club personnel will go to schools, and with the help of children, with the help of teachers and the principal, they will look at the anthropometry of these children, and then the sensitization of the children and the parents about the healthy lifestyle will happen. We are going little slow. It has been 2 years. Dr. VG can tell us more about this. We have done some trial runs which have been completed, but we have not been able to launch it as a pan India, which is the final plan. But we are working on this. So this is a direct, thing what we are, as I said, the INASL is doing, and let's see, I think, how we go. Then again, last year, we formed we have many task forces in INASL. Many of you know on, whether it is HCC, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, ACLF, and other task forces. MASLD, obviously, we have task forces. But then we formed a new task force. This was on preventive hepatology, and we thought that who are the groups where we should be targeting, and kind of educating children. We should be educating about fatty liver. Who should be the group? And then we decided that this is the children in schools and the adolescents in colleges who should be educated for the healthy lifestyle, and obviously they are the future of this country. So we've started having some activities, and this year on World Liver Day, and again, I happen to chair this task force, but then Dr. Badoria is the convener for the INASL task force. And then this was the first activity we did on World Liver Day, where we kind of went to the schools and in Chandigarh, and he went to the colleges in Rishikesh, and where we have now been teaching them about the good liver health, about the healthy lifestyle around this. Uh, Today morning, I think these are the recent pictures for today morning. We had another session here from 10:30 to 11:30, and around 300 children from 20 schools from Chandigarh had come to this hall, and we again spoke to them about the healthy lifestyle and this thing. And 2 weeks back, we also organized an inter-school poster competition for them, and the theme we gave them was healthy liver, healthy life. And I think we will put those posters somewhere here, but I think they are available. I think what a kind of artistic thing they have done, and beautiful pictures and beautiful posters they have made, and younger mind, but I think they have really done well. So these are some of the activities which I said the INASL is doing to look at this thing. But then education of the masses, as I said, in INASL, the education of the physicians, this is very, very important, but this cannot happen without the involvement of the government and the policy makers. So this is one slide. I think Ajit again has helped me about this, front of package labeling efforts, which are there, in various countries, that you need to tell people that what is there in this food, what is the nutritional value, how many calories are there, and all that stuff. That was not really happening very formally earlier, but now I think since 2022, I think FSI, they have included and adopted this. I think, and there are some new developments which have happened in this area, and I think I'll request Ajit to maybe tell us more on this. Uh, 2022, this was a paper which was published by, again, Jeff Lazarus. And then that time, the idea was that they did a survey of around 102 countries globally to look at that are these countries prepared to tackle this ongoing silent public health problem of MASLD. And they had all these questionnaires, that what are the policies, do we have the guidelines, and what do you do, and what manage, a lot of questions they had. So based on that, they scored all these countries, and more than 50% of the countries, they scored 0. No country scored more than 50 out of 100. India was on the top with 42 marks out of 100. And what was the reason for that? The reason was this, that by that time in 2021, Government of India had included MASLD, NAFLD, they still call it as NAFLD, into the national program. And that time the national program was called National Program for the Prevention and Control of Cancer, Diabetes, Cardiovascular Disease and Stroke, NPCDCS. And the new name for that is now we call the National Program for Non-Communicable Diseases. So this has been done since 2021, so it's almost 4 years. The problem what we are having is, I think this is what I feel, is the implementation of this program. But program is so-called, is what we call the bottom-up approach. Bottom up approach means that you start with a community worker at a and maybe something like a asha worker, what you call, and then at the primary care and community health center, and you go up to the district health level. So at this level you just have to screen people, those who are obese, diabetic and hypertensive, and if they are there, I think they would need screening for fatty liver disease. And once they are screened for fatty liver disease and they are found to have fatty liver, based on their FIF4 score, which would be possible only at a community health center, they may be referred to a district hospital for a second test, which could be elastography. But the problem is that at many even community health centers, the simple tests like platelet count, LFT, sometime may not be available. At district level, the fibroscan machines are not available. So how do you do that? I think that is a problem. And for that, this is a new initiative which has come up related to that, and this is known as National Fatty Liver Reduction Initiative. This is the NAFRI thing which they've come, and what they are doing here is that now they are looking at that, how to implement these guidelines and bring these guidelines into clinical practice. The aim is to reduce fatty liver prevalence by 50% by 2047. Like you have for hepatitis, viral hepatitis, to elimination program since 2020 2030. So similarly for fatty liver, they have it to reduce it by 2047. So this is the NAFRI initiative what is happening, and they have these objectives. But as I said, the predominantly it includes the awareness, education, identification, referral, and all that is included in this NAFRI initiative. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, I'll not take much time, and I'd like to summarize that India does have a high prevalence of MASLD, but within the MASLD, we do have significant proportion who may fit into either at-risk MASH, or may have MASH, or at least on NITs are thought to have significant fibrosis. That's number one. So we need to tackle this by what India is doing is the activities like the education activities, the education of the physicians, endocrinologists are getting involved more often, the other cardiologists and everybody. And then INASL has been doing some work on this about the guidelines, ROCO program, and the preventive task force. But at the national level, as I said, the national policies, or the one of the major thing which has happened is the inclusion of this MASLD in the national program. As I said, we are still facing these challenges of implementation, but the NAFRI is one thing which is an initiative which has now been made to kind of improve the implementation of this program. So with this, I'll stop, and I'll be happy to take any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Decision sir. I think this was a very comprehensive coverage of what India is doing. And yesterday also we discussed about so I mean, I totally agree that the initiatives which are taken by India is far ahead of all other countries. I presented yesterday the review for South Asia and East Asian countries. So India is doing a lot of more initiatives to add on to the list which is mentioned by Decision sir. India is taking care of Eat Right India movement, where we are training our community health officers so that they can go and teach and train our community like what is good and what is bad for if we talk about diet. Then there is a Fit India movement where we are trying to promote physical activity among our Indian citizens. Then FSSAI, they are doing a lot of work on FOPL and even healthy campus initiatives. So a lot of work is going on, but we have to be patient because it takes time to get these initiatives deep penetrated in the ground level so that we can see some impact. So I hope that in coming few years, we'll start, not only presenting the initiatives, but we'll also be able to present the impact of these initiatives in the country. Now the floor is open for question and answers. Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Duseja, thank you for that, complete sort of sum up of what is happening in our country. Being part of the INASL ROCO project and Zone 5, and Northeast states and the eastern part of the country, I've been talking to 10 district, governors in my area, and they are like, my term is going to get over in July. Why should I do any work? You talk to the next one,
person, right.
and sometimes they don't even respond. So I
Right.
actually had to become a honorary member of Rotary Club so that they will listen to me.
Right.
This just happened like a week ago, and then they said wait till 15th of August and then start talking to us. So
Right.
trying to get somebody to be a coordinator for 2 or 3 years in each district, because the district governors keep changing. So I think this is something we have to do nationwide,
Right.
that we get in each district one person to coordinate for this INSL ROCO project, which does not change, so that there's a continuity of care, because they lose interest. And sometimes they don't want to do it, because why should I bother for 1 year? That is number one. And number two is, do you think, like Singapore, we can recommend to the government that if we can get people to walk, it's more like in urban India and, like the second tier cities where there's more obesity and a lot of, this food which is available from all our, restaurants. And so if we can recommend that if we get people to walk, if they can get some amount of, in the income tax, if we can get them some relief from the government, trust me, the amount of income tax people have to pay and the amount of efforts they put in to try and save income tax, if we can get something, if the government can do, because eventually it's going to work out, because their health bills are going to be less and it's going to be less of a burden on the government. I think as INSL, I think we should think about this and recommend to the health ministry if they can do something like this, because everybody has got an app nowadays. We can download something like this and show that we're eating
I think,
healthier,
yeah, your
we
points are
are
very well taken.
exercising, and
Maybe
then get
I'll
some income tax
thank you.
benefit.
The points are very well taken. As I said, we've been a little slow on this INASL ROCO, and I do understand difficulties which are happening. I think we've been talking almost, very, very frequently with Dr. VG, but then he's also trying very hard. We hope that I think this will take up, but I think I'll request him to maybe tell us the latest.
Well, I am a Rotarian too, and I know the challenges the Rotarians face and how it works. Well, my compliments to INASL in general and Ajit in particular for doing excellent work. We recently did a public awareness program and we gave it a little festive touch. We named it Liver Carnival, and we tried to, create a bouquet sort of thing, and had a lot of activities starting from 6 a.m. in the morning till the night. And there were walkathons, cyclathons, Zumba, and everything, CME. Then there was a painting competition among children, and I have put up a paper which will be displayed on 9th. And well, I really invite everyone to visit that. And there was an excellent response. We actually concluded with a cricket match among doctors. There was exhibition, like there were educative stalls where we put in how liver disease evolves. This was for open. This was open for general public, and there was a good attendance. A lot of people came. We went to school principals, and I feel a all-inclusive kind of program has to be made, because people have varied interests. What we do normally, we do just one activity in a day, and nobody takes any notice of it. If we make a inclusive package of various activities and dedicate one whole day for that, that will be more appreciated and received well by people. Thank you.
I think very well taken, and I'm aware. I think you did this activity. I think congratulations for that. Yeah, Professor Yunis.
Great presentation, AJ. Thank you. I think the awareness issue is important. What it's actually for patients or providers or all of that is important. But ultimately, this is at least the NASH part or MASH part is a disease that we can actually implement. But the truth of the matter is, to change this tsunami, something else has to change. I mean, just if you think about advertisement of food, that's actually probably, sort of lots of ultra processed food and food that's not healthy towards young population or younger generation, or in the United States, the advertisement of alcohol towards, again, young population is immense. That requires an incredible amount of a brave decision at the policymaker sides.
Absolutely.
How do we really go and influence them, so that, especially with how the politics goes and everywhere in every country, to affect them? Because without that, we really are just sort of addressing the tip of the iceberg without really addressing the real disease that's actually sort of promoting this, and that's really obesity and type 2 diabetes, right?
Thank you. I think your points are well taken.
Hi, fantastic talk, Ajay. I'm just curious whether in your task force there are some psychologists, because I think the healthy lifestyle concept is a great one, but I mean the key thing you need to address is the food and the diet, right? And that's got a very strong psychological component as well. So one of the things that I don't know whether you looked at it, is whether you have financial incentives like insurance, right? You can you reduce your insurance coverage and costs if you are able to meet certain diet or weight targets. Has that been sort of a strategy
No,
that
that's
you
a very
consider?
valid point. We have not done, and in general, in India, the insurance is really not an in thing. Most of the healthcare would happen out of pocket expenditure. But yes, the insurance is going up. I think yesterday we learned that maybe now the figures are close to maybe 20% people are getting insurance. So I think, but then that's a very valid point. I think can be done. Yeah. Dr. VG, your thoughts on the ROCO? Why is it not really moving well? And the still we are having
Yeah,
issues.
actually, it's partially my mistake. See, what happens is for July 1st, the Rotary year changes. And these district governor elects, that is, those guys who are going to take over from July 1st, they start working on their district projects from the previous year. So we were in touch with the past. There are two directors for India, and I'd been in touch with all the even the past two directors, even the present two directors. So they're trying to help us, but nevertheless they're all the time traveling all over the world. So very difficult to catch them, and unless otherwise they direct, governors won't take up. So now this is one of the important points that you said is to appoint a district chair for this project. Like for example, polio, there is a district chair for 2 years. Likewise, even spilling over to the next year also one should be appointed. That point immediately I'll take it up. This August third week, there is a meeting of all the district governors, elects, happening pan-India, happening in Chennai. So I'm just trying to pitch in for a slot at least for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. So I'm in touch with them. Both the present directors who just taken over this year, July 1st, they both are very interested in INASL ROCO project. They promise we'll have a slow start this year, but they have promised me that next year, that is at 2026-27, all the Rotary clubs in India will take this project. That is a promise they've given me. So I'm just trying to still push and try. In our own district, RA District 3206, already one chairman has been appointed for this. And we are starting with the Zoom meeting coming week with all the Rotary clubs in our district. So it's just having a headway, but I lost a lot of time there. So my profound apologies on that, but I'm sure we are pushing it through.
Can we close it?
I think Dr. Ajay, a very nice talk, and I think we close this session.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
everybody.
Thank you very much. And then